A daily dose of practical wit and wisdom with a professional educator and trainer, Amazon best-selling author, United States Marine, television and radio host, Paul G. Marshal. Each episode will focus on positive and productive ways to strengthen your mindset and help you improve your relationships, career goals, and overall well-being. Please welcome your host, Paul G. Marshal.
Hello, welcome back to Morning Mindset. All right, looks like according to my show notes and the calendar, this is a Friday episode, so let me see if I can give you something worthwhile to lead you into the weekend. Now, if you have been involved in law enforcement or the military or any martial endeavor, you should have heard of the name Colonel John Boyd. If you haven't, go ahead and look him up. Colonel John Boyd was an Air Force fighter pilot who was never defeated in a dogfight. That's right, he was never defeated in a dogfight. And he was also a master tactician and a student of modern warfare. And there's a very good book available on Amazon, and it's called, I think it's called John Boyd, the Fighter Pilot, or the Who Changed the Art of Warfare, something like that. But it's B-O-Y-D, John Boyd. And John Boyd came up with something that was called the OODA loop, O-O-D-A, orient, observe, orient, decide, and act. And many of these things may be, like, well, I'm not a cop, I'm not military, I don't care about this stuff, Paul. But, well, you should know a little bit about John Boyd. He was an American hero. He dedicated his entire life to the preservation of the United States and the protection of the United States of America. And he was very involved during the Cold War era. And again, many of you who are young, you don't like Cold War, when it was really cold outside and they were fighting? No. Look it up. But Boyd, he never made general, but he was a colonel, and often he would have lieutenants and captains and junior people underneath him. He would have them in his staff or in his office, and every once in a while he would have to give them the speech. It was called the do something or be someone speech. And it went a little something like this. John Boyd would tell junior officers or subordinates or people who worked for him, he'd say, there comes a time in every man's life when he will have to make a choice to either be someone or do something. And to the casual observer, you're like, that doesn't make any sense, Paul. You can be someone and do something at the same time, and it's all gibberish and nonsense. Well, let me explain it. What Boyd meant, and he was dealing with a Pentagon power structure. He was dealing with entrenched military bureaucrats on a daily basis. And like we mentioned yesterday, Boyd was probably, I don't know if Boyd was a fan of Patton. I actually believe that he was, and I'm sure that Boyd read books about George Patton. John Boyd was all about grabbing the problem by the nose and kicking it in the pants. And when he would do that, very much like Patton, he would annoy his peers and his superiors because he would constantly point out what was wrong, and he would tell them how we were going to fix it. He didn't just go along to get along. And you say, okay, that's great for him and that's great for Patton, but that doesn't, apply to me. Well, it really does. At some point in time, a man, a person, a human needs to make the decision, do they want to do something or do they want to be someone? What is your priority? And if you're going to do something, if you want to do something great, whatever that happens to be, it doesn't matter. Choose your career field. Let's say you're in the medical field and you want to be the best surgeon, the best doctor. I don't care. I don't know where you are, but you want to do something important. You want to do something valuable. You want to leave a genuine legacy behind. You want 50 years from now people to see what you did and say, man, I don't know who this guy or this woman was, but that was really something. That was important. You want people to be talking about what you did, what you accomplished 25, 50 years from now, 100 years from now, right? And it doesn't matter whether, it could be music, it could be art, it could be literature, it could be whatever. But you want to do something. Now, in your pursuit to do something, you may receive recognition. Unfortunately, many people today whose names you know, authors, inventors, designers, and so forth, you see that name and you're like, man, that person, they must have been a rock star in their time. Everybody must have thought they were geniuses and that they were cool and that, they appreciated it. If you study history, you'll find that quite often many great authors were not recognized while they were alive. Many works of art, many works of literature, books, movies, and so forth that you think, man, like for instance, how many of you guys out there are Star Wars fans? How many of you are Star Wars geeks? And you think, dude, Star Wars was the greatest movie in the history of ever. It's the greatest movie series in, the last 100 years or whatever. You think that, right? And you think that Star Wars, when it was released, was a smash hit and that the entire country, the entire world loved Star Wars. It's not the case at all. When Star Wars was first released, it was getting met with kind of a, The studios didn't appreciate it. The powers that be didn't really think it was great. It broke the formula. It was different. It was strange. It was unusual. It wasn't supported at all by the entrenched Hollywood network system. They didn't think it was great. It wasn't until the people got a hold of it that it grew legs and became what it is today. Oftentimes, if you want to do something, you have to be prepared to have that something not accepted immediately. Sometimes you're going to do something that not everyone's going to appreciate, but you know in your heart that what you're doing is important, whether or not you're getting the accolades for it immediately. Now, the other side is to be someone. If you want to be someone, if you want to be loved and appreciated, if you want to move up and get positions of power or authority or what have you, not do something, but focus on being someone, then you're going to need to compromise. You're going to have to compromise your own personal beliefs. You're going to have to modify your beliefs so that they are in direct line with those who are above you, who are currently your superiors. You have to modify your beliefs so that your peers and superiors all think that they're good because, well, they're also their ideas as well. For instance, Star Wars and the studio system. If George Lucas had set out to make a guaranteed hit with the studio system, if he wanted the people at the studio to think he was a genius, to think he was wonderful, to pat him on the back and say, you're one of us, he wouldn't have done what he did. Because the studio system did not appreciate Star Wars. Go back and read your pop culture history. They did not appreciate it. But he had a vision to do something, not to be someone. Now, today you could say, hey, George Lucas is someone, who are you, buddy? But he is someone today, not because of what he strove to be in the eyes of, in this case, the studio system, but he strove to do something important and to let that thing stand on its own. Now, here's the trick. As a human being, it's really hard. It's really difficult to make that conscious decision that you want to do something rather than be someone. Because by making that decision, you immediately ostracize yourself from a large percentage of your peer group. You're going to do something that's unique. You're going to do something that's different. You're going to do something that may not have been tried before or may have been tried and failed. And people are not going to automatically support you. It's hard to go out and to do something rather than to be someone. Class presidents. How many of you went to high school? Okay, put your hands down now. The class president Was the class president in your class the smartest, most intelligent person in the class, in your, senior class or whatever? Were they the most gifted and skilled? Were they the ones that were constantly trying to come up with new and better ways to do things? Most of you probably say, no. No, our class president, when I was a senior, the class president was the most popular guy in the class. How did he become popular? Or maybe in your case it was a she. How did they become popular? Did they become popular by focusing all their efforts and time on doing something? Or did they want to be liked by people? Yeah, exactly. Politicians very rarely are people that do something. Most of the time, politicians are people that want to be someone. They want to be liked by everyone. And so they modify their tone. They modify what they say. They look and they see what is currently popular. What does everyone like right now? And they're like, okay, that's what everybody likes today. I'm going to like that too. And if I like that too, then I'll be part of the crowd and they will accept me. And I can be someone in that crowd. John Boyd made the hard decision not to be someone, but to do something. And the legacy that he left behind, and his family life suffered, his personal life suffered. He didn't become a general. He didn't become a millionaire. But what he left behind for the Air Force, for the United States military, for those of us that are practicing the Marshal way, is extremely important. But he wasn't recognized for it, for the most part, while he was alive, because he didn't go along. He didn't want to be someone, and it was a lonely journey. And so you're going to come to that point in your life. Maybe you already have, and maybe this is just reinforcing it. If you're a young person, it's really difficult, and not everyone is going to. Not everyone is going to be cut out to do something. But consider human history. Consider something that may be your favorite. I'll give you one more, and then I'll let you go. Are you music aficionados? Are you music lovers? You say, yeah, I'm a music lover. How many of you like rock and roll music? You like Black Sabbath? And you're like, oh, Black Sabbath, classic rock. Oh, Black Sabbath, they're the classic rock band, a band which hundreds or at least dozens, maybe hundreds of other bands emulated and looked to. And you think to yourself, man, these guys, they go to a party, they go to an event, and the house shuts down. Everyone shuts their mouth and they look, it's the guys from Black Sabbath. You think that, right? They were not appreciated. I was alive when Black Sabbath was a relatively new entity. And when they first came out, the Rolling Stone magazine, all of their albums, they gave them 5-star reviews, between 1 being terrible and 5 being great. The Rolling Stone magazine gave all of the Black Sabbath albums that existed back in the late 70s, early 80s. They gave their first 4 albums 1 star each. And they gave Paranoid 2 stars. So they gave it a D instead of an F. Yeah. Now, they set out to do something. And it didn't matter that the music critics of the time, didn't matter whether they liked it or not, whether they appreciated it or not. Now, today, they are someone. Everybody who was in the band Black Sabbath is someone. But that didn't happen initially. Initially, they bucked the system. They didn't make what was currently popular at the time. So that is, I'm going to leave that this weekend. It's like I said, this show was released on Friday morning. So you've got all weekend to think about it. Do you want to do something, or do you want to be someone? The choice is up to you. All right, this has been a little bit longer of an episode than we normally do, but I thought you would appreciate it. I thought this was important enough of a topic to take 4 or 5 extra minutes and give it to you. Thank you for being with me today. I truly appreciate it. I'm your host, Paul Marshal, and I will talk to you again real soon.
Thank you for spending spending time with us today. To get show notes, submit a topic request, and for more from your host, Paul G. Marshal, visit morningmindsetpodcast.com. That's morningmindsetpodcast.com. Please leave a review for this podcast on your favorite podcast player. We appreciate your time and effort, and we look forward to reading your honest feedback.